doing the celebration of life of Shelly.
Yay.
And Shelly lived her life very much in stages. She was born in Pittsburgh in 1961, and she moved to California in 1976. I'm not going to say much about those years, the early years. I'll let somebody else talk about those, because I don't really know that much about them. I met Shelly in the dorms at UCLA in 1979. And there in the slideshow, there's a picture of her sitting in the hallway in the dorms. Quinlan did not want to put that picture in there because he said it made it look too much like a mental institution.
I didn't know what it was.
But that was a lot what it was like. It was very much like a mental institution. So I wanted to leave that picture in there, partly because that's where we met, and partly because that would be a member that Joe would have. Joe was supposed to be here, but he got sick and wasn't able to make it. So the picture is still in there. And so one segment of life was
This looks like a mental asylum. Her
Yeah,
position
it
is
was-
not helping.
it was very
sure
much
she's
like a
loving that
mental
in heaven.
institution. Everything was very institutional back then. Things have changed. Universities have become a lot more competitive. They need to make things look better and more attractive. So that's what we lived in back then.
Beautiful picture.
Which
World
dorm?
is-
Which dorm?
That was Reber Hall at UCLA.
Cool.
Beautiful picture. Yeah.
So one early segment of life when I knew Shelly was when we were students at UCLA. She was a theater major there. I was an economics major there. And after that, once we graduated, she got a job at ADL as an assistant director. She worked there with Bernie Leibovich. And she worked there until she realized that working a 9-to-5 job just was not for her. She didn't like the getting up and going to work and punching a clock. So when we got married, she quit ADL and she got a job working as an independent contractor for Hertz, representing different Hertz and different agencies to travel agencies. So she would make rounds doing all kinds of presentations of promotions to travel agencies. And that fit her quite well. She could work at her own pace and she could jam through them all and then go back to doing everything else she wanted to do in her life. And at that point, she joined a theater group and then she took over the theater group. And she built up a theater group and she started a theater with a partner. And for a while she had an improv theater until the relationship with the partner turned sour and that ended. And at that point she'd started Zebra Entertainment. She started Zebra Productions back in 1972. She had a different partner back then she started that with. That relationship didn't go so well, so she bought him out and she was working on Zebra, but she had a dispute with the phone company over the advertising. So for quite a few years, Zebra kind of stagnated. It was still there, she still worked on it a little bit, but it really was not promoted a whole lot. Then we got married in 1985, and then we started a different phase of our lives. She went back to working Zebra. She straightened everything out with the phone company, got a lot of promotions going with the phone company, got business, and started building up Zebra Entertainment. And back in those days, we really did everything ourselves. We were more of a service business then. We did clowns and characters, gorillas, telegrams,
Telegrams, yeah, that's right.
carnivals, dunk tanks. And we did that for quite a few years until in 1995 we got a contract with Amtrak to put magicians and folk singers and other entertainers and Santa Clauses on the train. So for 5 years, we worked that, and that was a full-time job.
You were a gorilla,
And
right?
so when,
You were a gorilla.
yeah, there's
Well,
somebody
that's
is a gorilla and Shelly is a mime. And Shelly's first incarnation of her clown. Later on, she changed it to a different look. That was the first incarnation of Shelly's clown.
Cool.
So after Amtrak ended in 2000, we started working on other things. In 1995, we started having children. So that became a different phase of our lives. Our lives focused a lot more around our children. We did everything with our children. Events were more planned around our children. And we had 54 birthday parties. 3 children, 18 years. Total of 54 birthday parties. So you're going to see a lot of the birthday parties in the slideshow. But see a lot of things. We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Bryce Canyon. And so after Amtrak folded in 2000, we had to regroup and start looking at the entertainment business in a different manner. So at that point, we changed the name to Zebra Entertainment and Events. And really, we became an event planner. We stopped doing so much of anything ourselves and contracted out with everybody else to do things. And so at one point, then we started with the children, with the kids. They wanted to go fishing and camping, and we got a van and did a van conversion. And for a while, we were doing camping until Shelly decided that sleeping in a tent really wasn't for her.
She outdid it, huh?
So we bought what we call a cabin up in the Eastern Sierras, and we spent a lot more of our time up there in the Eastern Sierras and there, and a lot less time camping. And so then, after Shelly had built up Zebra Entertainment Events and become much more of an event planning business and was doing quite well on that, she started getting bored and restless again, so she started doing other things in her life. She worked on being a romance writer, and she was writing romance, and she got a publisher, and she got published. And somewhere in there is her first published work, Power Play. So she was a romance writer for a while, and then things went sour with the publisher, so she was having to fight them to get her rights back on her stories and regroup and find a new publisher. And then she decided she wanted to be a life coach. So she went out and got certified as a life coach. And so she was working on a program for life coaching. And she was pretty much finished with her program she developed, and she was testing it out with people, and that's when she got sick, and that's when things started to fade away. So in 2016, she came down with a brain tumor. It was benign. It's not supposed to be killing her, but it put her in a downward spiral. And she had surgery 4 times, and it just kept coming back until finally it just grew rapidly and eventually ultimately killed her. So in 2021, she wasn't so much herself anymore. And that was about the last time most people really saw her, or if you saw her, she wasn't herself after that. And
I
so
sure enjoyed
then she
being
died
with
in 2023.
2022.
So this gets us to where we are now. Having the memorial took us 3 years to get the thing together. She died 3 years ago tomorrow at home. So at this point, anyone else who wants to say anything, has any remembrances of Shelly that they want to share, now's the time to do it. I think Michelle wanted to be at the beginning here.
Yeah, I can't promise. My name is Michelle, as Phil said. I met Shelly close to 28 years ago. I was about 14 years old. So Shelly was looking for a babysitter to help her watch her boys, and she asked a girl down the street to help. That girl's name was Jenny. Jenny liked the idea of helping Shelly with her boys, until Jenny met a boy her own age. Then Jenny asked me if I could cover for her so she could spend some time with him instead. That's when I met Shelly and her boy chicks, as she called them. She explained to me that boy chick was a Yiddish word that meant boy, and from that day on, Shelly would be one of the most profound teachers of my life. She taught me far more lessons than this Yiddish one. When I first started working for Shelly, she had Wilden. She called him her beautiful wild one. And Quinlan, she called him her Quino Minnow. And not long after, Bryce, her Brycey Boo, was born. I thought she was crazy to let me nanny her kids when the only child care experience I had up until then was being the firstborn. I had lots of sisters and cousins. That was my resume. I went on to not only become a high-profile nanny, but I started my own agency eventually as well because she gave me a chance. In the early days of me nannying for the Uyedas, Wilden was having a hard time with a new baby in the house. He started biting many of us, including baby Bryce.
I got one. Yeah.
Every time I told Shelly about it, she just told me nonchalantly, bite him back. Teach him a lesson, and that will stop him. I thought, this woman is crazy. So I refused. Who bites a little kid? That's nuts. Wilden continued biting us. Turns out I bite little kids. One day, the bite was really intense with Bryce. Bryce was screaming so loud there was no sound coming out. It was just that. And I saw his teeth marks, and I didn't have to look far to know whose teeth those were. So I decided to take Shelly's advice, and I bit Wilden. He never bit anyone again after that, did you, Wilden?
No, not true, but...
Another day while I was working at the Uyedas, I was doing art with the boys, and Shelly came over and saw what I had drawn. She told me she thought I would be really good at face painting. I told her, again, she was crazy. She spent the time to show me a few things which helped me get started, and I actually bought my first car. With the money, I made face painting. Pretty crazy. Shelly and I became very, very close. I was a girl who needed a mom, and she was a mom that wanted a daughter. I thought she was crazy when she said she was considering adopting me. Though the adoption was never made legal on paper, it certainly remains solid in our hearts. Shelly was a great storyteller. If you've read any of her books, hung out with her for any period of time, you already know that. She told me stories about giving birth outside of a hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
crazy, crazy, crazy. Who would do that? She planted a seed inside of me that grew into my own womanhood. I went on to give birth to my first child in a birthing center, not in a hospital. And my second, this little lady, was born at home. It was crazy awesome. Whenever I felt off physically, Shelly would do muscle testing on me to see what my body was needing or asking for. I just knew she was crazy when she did this. Except that it worked perfectly every time. When my own son experienced health issues, it was holistic doctors that used muscle testing that were actually able to help my son heal finally. Also, whenever I got sick, Shelly would explain that fruits and vegetables were growing above the ground, and that would help me clear out congestion because they were outside of the ground. So they would help my illness come out of my body. She told me that eating root vegetables that grew under the ground would help stop my runny nose and my watery eyes because they bring everything back in. It's really crazy to think that her advice has helped more people than I can count because of how well it worked. When I came over to Shelly's to watch the boys, I had a Snickers bar in my hand. Shelly came over to tell me how terrible sugar like this was for my body. Again, I just thought she was crazy, and she told me that all my skin rashes would go away if I stopped eating it. It's crazy how fast my skin cleared up when I took her advice. Sometimes I would vent to Shelly about how much of an unfit parent my dad was. He wasn't the dad I wanted him to be or needed him to be. Shelly explained to me that in life, we sort of have an invisible tool belt around our waist. Oh, here we go again, Shelly. Crazy ideas, invisible tool belt now. Shelly always gave me advice. She continued to say, everyone we meet teaches us something, or they provide us with some sort of tool that we will use in our lives for one reason or another. She explained to me that even though my dad wasn't the exact way I wanted him to be, this would still be a useful tool in my life. Turns out she was right about that too. I could share so many more stories, but in short, I will say this. It turns out that Shelly was crazy. She was crazy in love with her husband. Crazy about her 3 boy chicks. Crazy enough to give me a chance as her nanny and face painter. Crazy enough to mother me when I wasn't always easy to love. And she was crazy successful. She was an amazing example of someone who believed in her dreams and actually made them come true. When I think about her now, I think I would have turned out crazy without having been blessed with her love, her lessons, and her bright light. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Maya Mazer. I am Shelly's sister-in-law, her brother Stephen's wife. A few days ago, we commemorated Shelly's 3rd yahrzeit, or anniversary of her passing, according to the Jewish calendar. As it works out, this week's Parsha, or Torah portion, that was read in synagogues this morning is the same one that was read on Shabbat after she passed. The reading speaks of an uprising or rebellion by people who questioned the status quo. This reminds me of Shelly, as she was certainly not one to accept things at face value and challenge the authority. She fought and stood up for what she believed in to the very end. Shelly was born on the eve of the holiday of Purim, a festival that is celebrated with merriment and costumes. So fitting of Shelly's fun-loving personality and her entertainment business. Purim falls on the full moon when it shines at its brightest, as Shelly always did. She passed away on the first day of the new moon, when it's at its dimmest, as her light faded too. Growing up with 2 brothers and raising 3 boys, or boy chicks, as Michelle said, Shelly yearned for some girl time in her life. And also, as Michelle mentioned, she talked a lot about adopting you as her honorary daughter. When she introduced me to strangers, she often left out the in-law part and just called me her sister. I was always honored that she thought of me that way. I felt the same. While I do have 2 sisters, they are both younger, so I never had an older sister, which Shelly became for me. But she was more than just a sister. She was also my friend. Shelly and I had a lot in common. Like me, she was a health advocate, she practiced yoga, and was very spiritual. She and I shared a similar outlook on life and a love of creativity. We enjoyed making jewelry and would admire each other's handiwork. Shelly and I could always count on each other for advice. As someone who liked to write and have fun, Shelly enjoyed wordplay. She got a kick out of her name also being a Hebrew word that means my or mine. I remember Stephen telling me that their mom used to see what she wanted for breakfast by asking, "Egg shell?" And as another example, here's a short excerpt from one of the romance novels that she wrote that you saw was published. "Sorry, I didn't mean to stare. I was captivated by the classic lines of your face and dress. It's just your silhouette was so lovely against the glare of that bulb." She smiled. "You're an artist." He shrugged. "Well, a graphic artist. An artist nonetheless." Her tone suggested that she was accustomed to being correct. "Art is art," she said. He replied, "I'd like to make art with you." And Shelly did make art, in so many forms. I miss being able to talk to her. I miss her humor and her silliness. I miss my sister and my friend.
My name is James. I consider Shelly a friend, and I also was employed by her. Zebra.
James, speak up a little bit.
Oh yes, a little louder. I was worked for Shelly back in the day, back in the mid '90s, and
What's your name?
my name is James.
Oh, James.
James, and well, this tells you a little bit more. So
Okay.
I did this. There are very few people that I would want to read a eulogy for, and very few that I'd be prepared for. Shelly's top of that list. Very short list. How did I know Shelly? Back in the mid-90s, her brother Stephen answered a room-for-rent ad for a bedroom I was renting in my Sherman Oaks condo. Little did I know that that ad would lead to a friendship with Stephen that has lasted over 30 years. You would know the exact number to the day, probably. Thank you, Stephen, for introducing me to Shelly. Shelly was all about life. Or to be more precise, other people's lives. She infused them with excitement, games, fun, creativity, and joy-filled memories to last a lifetime. Shelly and I were the same age. I was somewhere in my mid-30s. Stephen would, again, be much more exact with them. When Shelly hired me as an entertainer for Zebra Entertainment, her amazing business, I always remember Shelly as smiling,
Oh, always. Yeah.
laughing, and juggling a zillion things at the same time with jaw-dropping skill and good nature. An other-oriented disposition. In other words, her kindness shined through the organized chaos that was the Zebra Garage Cave. When you pulled up to the house, I could feel it like yesterday. I was pulling up to that house so many times. When you pulled up to the house in this peaceful Granada Hills neighborhood, the house reminded you of every other house in the neighborhood. But when you entered, you realized that it was not like every other house in any neighborhood. When you walked into the cave, it was more like a stuffed and labeled museum of insane costumeology
Yeah.
/ clutter. If you needed an orange clown wig, a princess's magic wand, or Captain Hook himself, Shelly knew exactly where to find it. That covered it treasure. The one image that was firmly imprinted on my brain and I thought of as soon as Stephen called me about this event is this. Probably the only time I was in the kitchen. Shelly is in the kitchen with a baby rocking on one arm and in the other heating something on the stove while simultaneously talking to a client on the oversized cordless wedged between her chin and shoulder, and somehow maintaining a conversation with me. No task was too big. She had it all under control. Everything was figure-outable. Through all the hustle, bustle of the business, she was always kind, caring, and dedicated to what Zebra was really all about. If Zebra had a mission statement, I would say that it was to put the biggest smiles on the faces of other people's children and their families. Because of her focus, her daily devoted labor, she created countless joyful memories for moms and dads, little boys and girls, of all stripes. Shelly was life-giving. One particular conversation I remember with Shelly is when she got the contract with Amtrak to provide an entertainer for the Coast Star Line luxury train. The gig was 2 days up to Seattle and 2 days back. She called me aside and said, "So James, what would you do to entertain the train travelers for 4 days?" While they're sitting in wine and cheese in the lounge, the wine and cheese lounge, I looked at her thinking, and thinking. She quickly filled the awkward silence with another question. Do you play the guitar? No, I don't. Do you do magic? Well, not really, but I can learn some magic. Well, what would you want to do? Ah, I didn't hesitate. I said, I'd like to wear a vaudeville-style straw hat, bow tie, and a vest, sit down next to people, and hand them a card with 50 to 60 names on it, and ask each one of them, who would you like to talk to today? I do impersonations. I become other people. She didn't hesitate. You're hired. Shelly created magic. Real magic. I thank her for teaching us how to do that. And sometimes get paid. Little did I know at the time that 30 years later, I'd find myself abandoning my job that I thought was so important at the time to go to work for my 30-something wife who started her own business out of her home, entertaining 4-legged children. Dog boarding. Thank you, Shelly. You are my business, family role model. You showed me how to juggle a home business and a family while remaining mostly calm. Mostly. And grateful. Always grateful. Although we mourn, especially family, that Shelly is not here physically with us, we are most grateful to have known her. May the world be more like Shelly. More magic, more laughter, more memories. Create it. She and Joel created Wilden, Bryce, Quinlan, 3 men. May they continue her good work and good nature, and may her smile remain inside each of us, an inspiration, hope for the future. Thank you, Shelly.
Okay, so I didn't write anything down, but this is just something that's been bouncing around my head for quite a while now. My mom was the kind of person who always saw the best in people. She always promoted, health and wellness. She, as Michelle said, got her from junk food to sweet potatoes. So, just a little anecdotal story. When I was 17, my mom took me touring colleges. And, Shelly is the kind of person who can make a friend anywhere. I knew that from a very young age. However, I didn't realize how true it was until I was about 17. We were touring colleges, so we were in another state, and this woman comes up to me and she knows my name, where I'm from, what I'm doing there, which colleges I'm considering, and then she walks out of the room. And I go, and then my mom walks into the room, and then I say, Mom, do you know her from somewhere? She's like, oh, I just met her in the bathroom. So she's truly someone who saw the best in everyone and could make a friend anywhere, anytime.
Yes.
May her memory be a blessing.
Yes.
I have neuropathy, so it takes me a second to get up. Take your time. As we get older. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Dave Boatman. I was this lady's caricature artist for over 25, a long time. Long time. Couple things I remember about her. She was always smiling. Always smiling. And very happy to say I'm still working with Bryce. I'll be there Saturday or Sunday. One of the events that Shelly gave me to, Denise Powers, who does balloons and face painting, introduced me to Shelly. And we did some corporate event that was out on this beautiful picnic thing with big tall trees. Now I have arachnophobia. When I was younger, I got bitten by a wolf spider in my Pennsylvania. By the way, I'm from Pittsburgh. Go Shelly, yeah. I came out here in '74, 2 years before her. I looked for her. I did not see her. But I have arachnophobia because a wolf spider came down to the rafters in Pennsylvania and bit me in the eye. Didn't do anything bad, but when you got something that's close to your eye, it looks huge. So Denise goes, "Are you going to work Shelly's event?" I said, "I'll be there." And as Bryce knows, I always get there an hour early. Right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking up in the trees. Up above me, about 15, 20 feet, massive spider webs with these great big spiders as big as my hands walking across them. And I was like panicking. So anyways, I told Shelly, and I always give an event report, and I gave Shelly, "Shelly, there's big spiders up there." And her answer was, "The next time, bring a can of Raid."
Oh.
So that's my memories of Shelly. I miss her. I miss her. She was always laughing, nobody took care of her entertainers like she did. And she always paid us on time. We loved her. And he is very good. I like working with him. Thank you, Bryce. And I miss her. Even though I'm like a lower character on the family pool and all that, I miss her. She was great. Thank you.
You can share a quick story. I'm sure. Thank you. Huh? I literally just came from an event, so that's why I'm dressed like I just came from an event, right? So, the whole time. My name is Bruce Sinclair, and hi. And I think I was 97, if I recall. Memory's malleable there, a little soft. I think it was around 97, and I was asked to do Amtrak through David Groves, I think, who referred me. Again, she wanted to see magic first. She didn't just rely on the opinions of others. She said, "Come, show me a little magic," which I did. I ended up later, I believe, doing magic for you, wasn't it, right? When the youngest, right? I did magic at the house for a birthday party. She brought me, which I felt was honored to do. It was really, of all the magic, was it you? Was it you?
It was me, yeah.
I apologize. I wasn't sure which one of you it was. It was, again, a long time ago. But I was honored because of all the magicians she knew, she asked me to come and do magic for the family. And I really appreciated that. There's a couple of real quick memories, and again, also not written down. But I remember she asked me once to do a character, to wear a costume. And I'm a magician, and I had just done Columbo a few years earlier and done TV shows, and all this other magic was my thing. And she asked me to do a character, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And she said, "Well, I'll pay you what I pay a magician." I'm like, she was in trouble. I guess she had a magician. She had a character performer that was my height, and that was the key. They needed to be the right size for the costume. And I remember saying to her, well, my face, because it was in Malibu, where I already have clients. I work out there. And I remember saying to her, "Will my face be covered?" And she said, "Yeah, your face will be covered." I said, "That's great." And I looked at her and I said, "Because there is no humility in anonymity." So I can't see me, I won't feel humiliated. And I went and did that for her and helped her out at the end. The following year, I had a motorcycle accident. And it was a serious trauma. My heart stopped on Santa Monica Boulevard, and I was broken up pretty bad. And again, Shelly's health consciousness and desire to help kicked in. Among other things, a check came in the mail that I didn't work for. I thought that was really sweet. It was a mitzvah, right? I'm not Jewish, but I believe that's a mitzvah, right? She sent me a check, and a small check to help me get through some tough times. And I got stronger, and I went back on Amtrak, which was a challenge because of the accident. But it was just like maybe 7 or 8 months after the accident, I did Amtrak again, and it was such a blessing to do. I also have the very last gift. I think it was at a Christmas party. She occasionally had Christmas events for her staff and some of the performers. And I still have the Thomas guide she gave me. And God forbid we ever have a complete collapse of communication and infrastructure, it'll be underneath the seat of my car and ready for me to navigate to the next gig. So anyway, that's all. And I miss her too. And I wasn't that close again, but I really appreciated the opportunity she gave me. So thank you.
So I didn't really plan to speak. I'm Carl, Shelly's brother, but I did find a video that we have of Shelly as Silly Sally, and this was in 2013 for my daughter Karina's 5th birthday. And I just thought this is really how I want to remember her, and it kind of sums up what Shelly was to me. So, Bryce, take it away.
That's Silly Sally? Yeah.
Anybody else? Nobody else? That's the end?
I'll attempt to tell a story. It's actually one that I used on my Chapman submission to my university. Because when I was about 7 years old, I was at Grizzly Park Boys Camp with my brother, and there was a Mother's Weekend, and she was always very involved with everything we did. So she was at the Mother's Weekend with us, and they had a big zip line that went across the whole field. And at that time, they were allowing the young kids to go. I was 7 years old. They're like, sure, you want to go? You can just climb up the pole. Okay, great. I love climbing. I climbed right up. I got to the top. I was all harnessed in. I was ready to go. And I was like, okay, now what? And they're like, you just jump off. And I was like, I jump off. I'm way up here. I'm not going to jump off. Can I climb back down? No. You have to jump off. It's a rule. You have to jump off. And I was like, well, I'm not jumping off. No way I'm doing that. So I stayed up there. It was an hour. It was getting close. It's getting later and later. And they're like, come on, snack time was happening. Different activities were happening. We were missing it. So finally my mom, who's not a big fan of heights, was like, you know what? And she climbed up. She went all the way up to the top. And she talked to me with me. She sat with me. She was all harnessed in because, of course, she was going to have to go down eventually, too. So she sat me down. I was sitting right down. She was right behind me, holding on to me, talking to me, making me feel safe and comfortable. And then she's like, okay, now just hold on. Make sure you hold on to the rope just for safety. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to hold on to it. And boop, she pushed me right up. And for the first few seconds, I was terrified. And then, wow, it was the best time ever. I was doing Spider-Man. I was going crazy. And I was like, wow, I can't wait to do it again. And everyone was like, no, you're not doing that. And they changed the rule, and now you had to be much older to go on the zip line. But from that moment on, I learned a valuable lesson from my mom that it's not that scary. I can do anything. I just need to take the leap. And from that moment on, I've always done everything I can and believe that I can do anything. And she was definitely the person to show that you can believe, you can do anything as long as you believe. And she always believed in us. And thank you.
All right, anybody else? Else want to say anything? Okay.
Well,
Our old office manager, Denise, was not able to be here, but she's texted a letter to Shelly, so I guess I am supposed to read the letter. And the letter says, Shelly, I remember so clearly coming to work with you at your little house in San Fernando. The corner room that was our office and headquarters. That day you sat perched on Joel's lap to share the news with me that you were expecting a baby. We shared that news not just that first time, but a second and then a third time. 3 terrific sons, all different and awesome in their own ways. You and Joel raised them up to be wonderful people. You were a well of knowledge when it came to what herb or food could help cure a headache, heal a wound, or soothe a pain. How many times did I see you reach for that book, The Herbs of Life, or that huge alternative medicine book, both of which I bought my own copy and still refer to them. I also still use alfalfa tea to soothe a toothache and licorice tea when life is stressful. You did so much in your lifetime. You acted and ran a theater and an improvisational company. You built Zebra Entertainment, later Zebra Entertainment Events, starting with Dancing Gorillas, Telegrams, and Gatsby Golfer Greeters, into the company that supplied the on-the-board entertainment for the Coast Starlight and ran special events jam-packed with carnival rides and exotic animals. Then you decided to let the writer that was there inside of you. First you created that book on healthy pregnancy and childbirth, and moving on to writing romance novels. then sharing your experience by becoming a life coach. So many creative outlets in your life. So much of giving yourself. So much inspiration to those around you. From you I learned better ways to care for myself and those I love. Details are important. Children love bubbles. Don't put food on the roof of my car. Put it on the hood when loading up so I don't accidentally drive off when it's still on the roof. Bunnies like dandelions and raw almonds. Organization is important to sanity. Making changes can be scary, but keep moving through life. All you shared with me through the 20 plus years we worked together, laughed together, and sometimes cried together. Until that day you told me it's time. Time to move on and away to a new life. You pushed me on to the next chapter of my life as you were approaching the last chapter of yours. I could not be there in Granada Hills to share a goodbye with you and your beloved family and friends. I will keep you with me in my mind and heart. Dear friend, I will see you in the next life. Denise.
I have a little something, if you want. Yeah, just a little. I met Shelly taking a class, and it was at Every Woman's Village. I don't know if you guys ever heard. Yeah. And it was supposed to be a group acting class, but it turned out to be a group therapy class. And it was so great, though. You know, she had people breathing on the floor and, you know, just expressing themselves. And I thought, boy, this is some lady, you know? She really was something, yeah. And actually, Bunny Bernhardt, I don't know if anybody knows that name, but she was like Ruth Gordon. And she was leading one of the classes, and it was just like, you know, and now, you know, and she's the one that that's right, had us on the floor doing this and that, and we were on the floor a lot. But Shelly was such a sweet, dear lady. I mean, you could fall in love with her right away, with that big smile, and, you know, she was there, you know, and just had some really good times with her and talks, and right to the end. I was there right to the end, and we were sitting at Denny's, and until, and she would write because she couldn't talk at the time. You know, one day she was talking, and the next day I got a call, and it was just, and I thought, is this one of those calls, you know? But no, it was that, and we made appointments, we went to movies, and we had a wonderful time at that time, too. So I loved Shelly. Yeah, how can you not, right? Yeah, so that's my story.
Okay, anybody else? Last call. All right, well, I guess that will wrap it up then. Thank you for coming. There's still plenty of food over there. No rush. Don't need to leave right away. So.
Still have dessert coming out too.
And there's also dessert will come out next. So. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was great. And nice to see you two. Meet you. Yeah.